Heading into Game 7, Jimmy Butler was coming off of an amazing 47-point performance where he beat the Celtics almost single-handedly. Jason Tatum, on the other hand, was really beginning to find his rhythm, having an efficient 30 points in Game 6. So heading into Game 7, the tensions were high. You could see how packed the Heat Stadium was, each fan hoping to see something reminiscent of the LeBron, D. Wade, Chris Bosh days. Down 13 late in the fourth, the Heat managed to pull a miraculous 11-0 run. 3 after 3, layup after layup. They just couldn't make a mistake, and the Celtics couldn't make a shot. Marcus Smart drives to the rim, goes up for the layup, and misses. Heat ball, down 2. Jimmy Butler takes the ball up the court, 18 on the clock. Al Horford sags off, and he has space to shoot, and he does. The shot goes up, and it misses. A lot of free throws later, and the Heat are on their way home, and the Celtics on their way to the finals. What went wrong for the Heat, what went right for the Celtics, and what really happened in Game 7. Regarding that last shot, many think it was good, many think it was bad. But what everyone knows is that this season Jimmy Butler has had one of the best runs of his career. What went wrong for the Heat isn't just a missed shot, it's a plethora of problems with the roster slowly coming to light. For starters, we cannot act as if Jimmy Butler isn't a flat-out superstar at this point in his career. His 26-point average just doesn't tell the full story on how phenomenal he was this postseason. Early on in the postseason, Jimmy Butler erupted for 45 points to go up 2-0 against the Atlanta Hawks. Against Philly, he showed up, dropping 40 in a Game 4 loss. Despite losing 2 back-to-back on the road, they got the pieces together and won 2 at home to get him into the conference finals. In his very first game, Butler came off guns blazing, torching Boston for 41. Then in a pivotal Game 6, season on the line, showed his true grit and determination and dominated the game. Hitting 3 after 3, tough shot after tough shot, driving to the rim and shooting over anyone, or kicking it out to the open man. He did no wrong. The game wasn't played at Miami's pace, it was played at his pace. For that game, it was the offense and defense for the Heat. However, relying on Jimmy Butler to this extent came at a cost. As great as he is, at this point in his career, it's just a fact he's not going to put up 30 every game. What we've seen from him this postseason is a trend of 40 one night, but then regressing to 20 or even to 15. But then he'll come back in the next game and score 30. This isn't necessarily bad, but in those games where he's scoring below 25, we've seen time and time again the Heat struggle offensively. They can't score in the half court without Jimmy Butler, and with him, there's no true playmaker to really initiate offense. As good as Kyle Lowry is, he's just not the same playmaker or player that he once was. Given those factors, it's just not wise to rely on the same roster. The Eastern Conference is as talented as it's ever been. There's the two-headed monster in Brooklyn, Giannis being the demon he is, Trae Young really beginning to blossom as a player, Bulls are beginning to rise after falling from grace, the Celtics looking like their famous 2008 super team. The East is truly at a peak in terms of talent. Given that, the Heat need a wake-up call because the roster they created will just not hold up in this conference anymore. They need a second co-star, and it's not going to be Bam. The player as he is, he's just not developing as fast as they thought he would. That is where they went wrong. They failed to provide Jimmy Butler a quality co-star in order to turn this roster into a formidable threat in the East. The Heat essentially wager what they can get out of Jimmy Butler on Bam Adebayo. It's just unlikely they can win this bet, but they continue to go all in on it, wasting, essentially, Jimmy Butler's talent. In this offseason, some serious questions need to be addressed. First off, they need to address whether or not they want to keep Bam. Again, I don't doubt his talent, it's just that there's a gap between the production and the expectations placed on him. The Heat need to figure out what they want to do from here, and there's a lot of options. Even though James Harden and John Wall are free agents this year, I honestly think Zach LaVine is the best player to pursue in this offseason. When you look at the production he's put up in Chicago and the pure volume shooter he is, it fills the gaps within the Miami Heat offense perfectly. Even though they already have players like PJ Tucker, Duncan Robinson, and Tyler Hero, you have to also consider those players at this point in their career are defensive liabilities. Although Zach LaVine isn't known for his defensive capabilities, he's improved to the point where now he will have a significant defensive impact. That isn't to say that the addition of Zach LaVine will fix all of their problems, however, it will definitely fix a majority of them. But that's just one solution. The Miami Heat have several options open to them, but that's a video for another time. On the other side of the spectrum, when looking at the Celtics, you have to give everyone in that organization credit. For the better part of the last decade, they have done everything right. They are a good example of what a rebuild should look like. They refused to go into a traditional rebuild centered around tanking and high draft picks, and ended up building a roster that would make it to the finals, not too far removed after trading away Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce in 2013. The journey they took from 2013 to 2022, however, is a longer and more complicated story than what I just described, but that may be a video for a different time. When looking at the duo in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I can't say I'm surprised I see them in the finals now. Time and time again, these two have failed in the past, but in the way that failure toned and refined them. First off, in 2018, against one of the better forms of LeBron we've seen to date, Tatum and Brown went head to head with a beast they just couldn't stop. LeBron torched them for 42, 44, and even 46, but found himself at a Game 7 with a young Celtics roster. LeBron went on to drop 35 and was just unstoppable the entire game. This experience really propelled Brown and Tatum's development as a duo. In 2019, with the addition of Kyrie Irving, they were expected to go really far into the East. However, they just fell apart in the first round, and Kyrie fell short of expectations. 2020 is where they really took off as a team. Making it all the way to the conference finals again, they faced the Heat. Close game after close game, it was the same story. They just couldn't stop a superstar who was more experienced and more hungry for that spot in the finals. Although being swept in the first round in 2021, it really became clear to everyone watching that Tatum and Brown were going to dominate the foreseeable years. And of course, the journey they took in 2022 to reach the finals was truly a story of revenge at its finest. Sweeping the Nets without giving them a shred of hope, then getting a little lucky with the injuries playing in their favor in the series against the Bucks. Then with the finals in their grasp, this time they stepped up in dramatic fashion, rather than faltering in a Game 7 like they have in the past. Tatum and Brown's development into incredible players really played into Boston's favor. Marcus Smart being the defensive anchor he is, qualified players stepping up, and experienced vets showing the resolve in key moments. Truly rebuilt a dismantled team in 2013 into a refined quality roster now in the finals. What it came down to, when you truly break apart the pieces and piece them back together to understand how we got here, you'll see that it came down to the dynamic duo outclassing the solo superstar. This is a tale the rest of the league should take into account, because it's a tale that tells the story of how one man can't do it on his own, and two brains is better than one. The Celtics will face a godsend Warriors squad that was built for the championship, and the Heat will face a lot of questions that have went unanswered for the past few seasons.